The chances of serious vaccine injury have been likened to lottery odds, lightning strikes. But if you are one of the unlucky few, you can file a case in vaccine court.
I represent both vaccine-injured children and adults. Most of them will start the conversation by saying, I'm not anti-vax.
Why do you think they need to tell you right off the bat they're not anti-vax, but?
There's a lot of public pressure that people think you're some kind of a crazy person or you're out there. And also because most people have never heard of a vaccine injury. They're rare.
Tonight's story involves a celebrity chef, a rock star, and a highway heist that even Hollywood couldn't dream up.
Well, when the president of your company calls you and says, you're not going to believe this, but we lost 2 truckloads of Santo Tequila.
Lost.
I said, well, wait, is this a hijacking?
Not quite. International cyber criminals have found new ways to steal hundreds of millions of dollars of goods.
It looks like a Costco in here. You've got everything.
Yes.
41 years after the cult classic This Is Spinal Tap.
All right, here we go.
Rob Reiner and the band have come back together for a sequel.
Close.
Yeah.
Very close.
He's totally ad-libbing.
Half a wheel of that. It's all improvised. We schnaddle with each other and whatever
We
comes up.
schnaddle with each other?
Yeah, it's like doing shtick, you know. Or,
Are you and I schnaddling right
We
now?
are schnaddling right now.
This
We're in the
very
process of schnaddling right now.
I'm Leslie Stahl.
I'm Bill Whitaker. I'm Anderson Cooper.
I'm Sharon Alfonsi.
I'm John Wertheim.
I'm Cecilia Vega.
I'm Scott Pelley. Those stories, and in our last minute, what viewers thought about last week's broadcast. Tonight on 60 Minutes.
If you've never before heard of the National Vaccine Court, you're hardly alone. It sits inconspicuously a few hundred yards from the White House and stands as a model of effective public policy, balancing the societal good of widespread vaccination with rare individual harm. Founded in the 1980s, the court has, with little fanfare, paid out billions of dollars to Americans who have claimed injury after getting a vaccine. Today, with vaccine skepticism rising and given voice in the highest ranks of government, we wondered, can this singular court block out the noise, withstand the political winds, and stay true to its mission?
You ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, say go.
Go.
Jacob Thompson is 13 years old.
Here we go.
He loves airplanes, swimming, and Chick-fil-A. But Jacob can speak only a handful of words and needs help walking more than a few yards. Jacob was born in St. Louis on New Year's Eve 2011, rounding out a family of 4 with sister Mei Lee and parents John and Wally. He a pilot for FedEx, she a recent immigrant from China.
We had this perfectly normal, happy little baby. He would be able to jump up and down on my wife's lap and very alert, recognized who mom and dad was.
At his 6-month checkup, Jacob received a combination shot that included the recommended childhood vaccinations against diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis, or DTaP, all deemed safe and effective in clinical trials. Hours later, Jacob began to seize. Doctors hoped it was a one-time reaction. It wasn't.
Within, I'd say 6 months or less, he didn't know that we were mom and dad anymore, and he was slithering on the floor like a snake.
Unrecognizable from the child you knew.
Yeah.
By age 2, Jacob could suffer up to 700 seizures in one day. He was diagnosed with a rare and severe form of epilepsy.
Is he getting blue?
The Thompsons became increasingly convinced that his condition could be traced back to his 6-month vaccinations, and they began to seek accountability. They took their case to attorney Renee Gentry.
That's circumstantial evidence because it's not direct evidence.
She's a leading vaccine injury litigator and director of the Vaccine Injury Litigation Clinic at George Washington University Law School in Washington, D.C.
Perfect. I represent both vaccine-injured children and adults. All of my clients are vaccinated. Most of them will start the conversation by saying, I'm not anti-vax.
Why do you think they need to tell you right off the bat they're not anti-vax, but?
There's a lot of public pressure when you say that you have a vaccine injury, that people think you're some kind of a crazy person or you're out there. And also because most people have never heard of a vaccine injury. They're rare.
So rare that, while hard to quantify precisely, the chances of serious vaccine injury have been likened to lottery odds, lightning strikes. Bear in mind, in total, global immunization has saved an estimated 154 million lives, 6 lives each minute. But when an injury does occur, families can come to vaccine court, seen in this informational video. Part of the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program, the court was established in response to a public health scare in the 1980s.
The health of millions of children may be at stake because...
When families of injured children went to civil court and successfully sued the manufacturers of the DTP vaccine, an older version of DTaP, it caused all but one of those drug companies to pull out of the market, resulting in vaccine shortages. Congress acted, crafting a bipartisan bill that partially shielded drug manufacturers from liability so they would continue to develop life-saving vaccines. And at the same time, Congress acknowledged that vaccines can cause injury. As bill sponsor Senator Ted Kennedy described, when children are, quote, the victims of an appropriate and rational national policy, a compassionate government will assist them in their hour of need.
It was hailed as such a unique accomplishment back in the day because you had these disparate groups. You had the parents of vaccine-injured children together in the room with the manufacturers. And everybody agreed that this was the best case scenario.
Is that fair to the public? They think they have an injury caused by a vaccine, but they can't sue the vaccine manufacturer directly.
You can still opt out of this program and sue a manufacturer. You have to just start in this program. But it's a lower burden of proof in our program, so it's an easier thing for vaccine-injured people to get compensation.
Drug companies are not only not being sued, they're not part of the proceedings. Vaccine court is a no-fault court, meaning in cases like Jacob Thompson's, negligence does not need to be proven, just that the vaccine, more likely than not, caused the injury. Vaccine court is not your typical court. There's no jury. Cases are decided in front of one of 8 judges called special masters. Since the program began in the late 80s, 12,000 Americans have received almost $5 billion in payouts. There are no financial windfalls for lawyers. The court pays them by the hour. Where does all this money come from? A 75-cent tax imposed on recommended childhood vaccines goes into a trust fund earmarked for vaccine injury compensation. In July, the Thompsons received a judgment of $2.1 million based on the special master's ruling that it was more probable than not that Jacob's 6-month vaccinations aggravated an underlying genetic mutation. Jacob also received a lifetime annuity to cover his future care. Is there any doubt that the vaccine caused Jacob's injury?
We can't ever prove scientific certainty on it.
Does that not mean, though, that some cases are being compensated when, in fact, the science might not support it?
Sure, and that's what Congress intended. There's very clear indication that said it would be better to compensate somebody that wasn't injured than to miss somebody who was.
How do you feel about that?
I think that's fine. While vaccines are critically important public health tools, they're not magic. You know, you can have an allergic reaction to aspirin. So it's a lot of different factors come into play to have a person be injured by a vaccine. Their genetics, their immune system. That's why the no-fault part is critical. The vaccine caused it, but there's no bad actor in this case.
The program is structured around a vaccine injury table, basically a conversion chart of vaccines and eligible injuries. If your child, for instance, got a rubella vaccine and developed chronic arthritis, within 7 and 42 days, you may be eligible for damages. The most common compensation is for shoulder injuries suffered from a misplaced injection. You can file for an injury not on the table. Overall, half of all claims have been dismissed. Today, vaccines on the table have jumped from the original 6 to 16, including the annual flu shot, though notably not COVID. As for the eligible injuries, autism is not one of them. That decision did not come easily, as retired special masters Denise Vowell and George Hastings explained. There's been a lot of talk lately about a possible link between vaccines and autism. This has been litigated and decided in your court 15 years ago.
You know, I spent many years of my life almost full time looking at that issue.
In the early 2000s, cases alleging vaccinations caused autism flooded the court. Val Hastings and a third special master oversaw what was a class action of sorts, a vaccine court proceeding that spanned almost a decade, incorporating testimony from dozens of medical experts and hundreds of scientific articles. What did you ultimately conclude?
Ultimately concluded there simply was not the evidence. I hoped there would be.
Why?
Because the parents of children with autism go through so much.
But Val said she could not decide cases based on sentiment.
I had to apply the law, and the law was that if there is a preponderance of evidence of vaccine causation, I rule for them. If there isn't, I rule against them.
All three special masters concluded there was no link between vaccines and autism. On appeal, 8 additional federal judges unanimously upheld the vaccine court decisions. This has not been persuasive to Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
After 30 years of steady rises in autism rates, I don't know we know the answer to that. We should know the answer.
We wanted to know RFK Jr.'s views about vaccine court, a court his uncle championed, because today, as Secretary of Health and Human Services, he is imbued with the authority to add or redefine injuries on the vaccine table. He declined our request for an on-camera interview, but said via email that yes, he would like to expand the table, which he hopes will create an easier path to compensation. In particular, he wants to broaden definitions for seizures and encephalopathy, 2 neurological conditions that can be associated with autism. Although the original intent was idealistic, compassionate, and sensible, the court, RFK Jr. told us, has become a disaster for the families of injured children. Its effective function is delay, denial, and systematic cruelty.
Yeah, right there.
Vaccine court delays are something Ryan Farrell knows only too well. Husband to Angela and father of 3, Ryan worked as a lineman for a Boston area power company, hanging electrical wires 100 feet high. On the job in 2017, Ryan cut his hand on rusty metal and got a tetanus shot. A few days later, the pain started.
I felt like my back was just like being stabbed.
He would take a shower. He was like, I feel like there's razor blades hitting my skin.
Over the next few years, Ryan was hospitalized multiple times. Doctors diagnosed him with a rare autoimmune disease.
I didn't want to live for a long time, that's how I felt.
When did you make the link that I had this vaccine, maybe there's some correlation here?
I made the correlation.
Like most Americans, Angela Farrell had never heard of vaccine court, but she stumbled upon it online and found a lawyer. They filed a case in 2019, and only in July did the special master rule. The tetanus shot, more likely than not, led to Ryan's illness.
Do you feel like you were treated with compassion?
The special master was kind to me and my family when we were in the courtroom.
Court was intended to compensate people for vaccine injuries. I want to quote this: quickly, easily, and with certainty and generosity.
That couldn't be further from the truth.
What do you mean?
I feel like they made it way too long.
Ryan remains unable to work. 6 years in, the court has yet to determine his damages. The court acknowledges the delays. Citing a backlog of more than 3,000 cases, its chief special master has, in documents obtained by 60 Minutes, asked Congress for more resources 4 years running, saying it becomes more difficult each year to resolve the huge number of case filings in the expedient fashion they deserve. Congress has yet to act. Our reporting suggests that this inaction is in part because vaccination has become such a loaded, heavily politicized issue that legislators are reluctant to wade in. The Thompsons are not invested in the heavily charged vaccine debate. They're invested in their son, Jacob, an anguishing exception harmed by what's otherwise a public health force of good.
I do wonder if people aren't going to hear your story and be terrified of giving their kids vaccinations.
We're definitely not anti-vaxxers. We think, vaccines are great. They've done a lot to help people. But I think that parents need to know what can happen.
If what you care about are vaccine-injured people and them being compensated, then you want this court to work, and you want this court to be here.
We have this program that incentivizes the manufacturing of vaccines, but also acknowledges that in some rare cases,
there are injuries and damages.
Right. It's bipartisan. It takes everyone's views into account, and everybody compromises, which is a dirty word now, but that's the goal of it. And it's helped these people. Jacob will be taken care of for the rest of his life because of this program.
There's no shortage of unbelievable stories that start with tequila, and this is one of them. It involves a celebrity chef, a rock star, and a highway heist that even Hollywood couldn't dream up. Last November, 2 semi-trucks carrying more than $1 million worth of Santo Tequila, a brand founded by Food Network star Guy Fieri and former Van Halen frontman Sammy Hagar, disappeared on its way to the warehouse. If you're wondering how in the world that much tequila can just vanish, we did too. It turns out international crime groups have found new ways to infiltrate the global supply chain online to steal hundreds of millions of dollars of goods. Guy Fieri got a crash course on this sophisticated high-tech theft after a sobering call from the president of his company.
Well, when the president of your company calls you and says, we have a problem, what's happening? He goes, you're not going to believe this, but we lost 2 truckloads of Santo Tequila.
Lost.
I said, elaborate on lost. He says, well, they disappeared. I said, well, wait, is this a hijacking? I said, are the drivers okay? I said, is this because all my mind goes to is Goodfellas and, that's what I'm thinking is happening. He said, no, the trucks, they were appropriated, but we don't know where they are. I'm like, it's not a needle in a haystack. I mean, this is a semi-tractor truck. My mind is swimming in exactly how do you lose, that many thousands of bottles of tequila.
24,000 bottles of tequila, enough alcohol to fuel a lifetime of bad decisions. The tequila started out like every other Santo batch in western Mexico, where it was distilled and bottled. From there, it was trucked to the U.S.-Mexico border, through customs, and unloaded in Laredo, Texas. The next day, it was moved into 2 semi-trucks that were supposed to head to the Santo Tequila warehouse in Lansdale, Pennsylvania. When was the first indication something's not normal here?
The product was due on Wednesday to our warehouse in Pennsylvania, and on Thursday morning, the logistics company told us there was a water pump cooler problem with the truck. It's just going to be a slight delay.
Dan Butkus is the CEO of Santo Spirits. He told us, like many small businesses, Santo doesn't have their own delivery trucks. So they rely on a logistics company to hire trucking companies to ship their tequila. On Friday, 2 days after the shipment was supposed to arrive, the trucking company started sending more excuses about why it was late. Dan Butkus was informed that the truck was near Washington, D.C. with a water pump issue. The logistics company emailed him a video they received of a broken-down semi with a note. Looks like the issue is bigger than he thought. Mechanics advise the truck will be fixed Saturday. He says he can deliver Sunday, but I know y'all are closed, so he can be there first thing Monday. So the tequila's late, but you don't think anything's wrong because they're sending emails?
Yeah, we don't think anything's wrong. We're a day or 2 behind delivery. And meanwhile, they track these with GPS.
So someone's checking to make sure the truck is where it says it is. And on GPS, it looks like
Exactly.
It's in D.C. where they say it is.
Then on Monday, we get an email that the truck is close. GPS says it's within a couple miles of our warehouse in Lansdale. Can you let us know when it arrives?
The tequila never arrived in Pennsylvania. Here's what happened. The logistics company that worked for Santo hired a trucking company to move the tequila from Texas to Pennsylvania. But then that trucking company outsourced the job to 2 other trucking companies who then hired drivers. The problem is those second trucking companies were fake, with phony letterheads, email addresses, and phone numbers to appear legitimate. It's a bit of a tractor-trailer shell game called double brokering, and it happens more than you might expect. Santo CEO Dan Butkus learned it was all part of an elaborate ruse set up to buy time and steal the tequila.
So the email that came to you guys was fake. The picture was fake. The GPS was phony. The
Correct.
GPS signal was spoofed.
They call it spoofed or emulated.
The thieves had manipulated the GPS to make it look like the tequila was still on its way to Pennsylvania.
This is the essence of real tequila.
Making matters worse, Guy Fieri and Sammy Hagar had been heavily promoting a new special tequila ahead of the holiday season that took 3.5 years to make. And all of it was on those 2 missing trucks.
It's not like we're sitting on huge reserves.
So you can't just say, turn it up, we're going to keep making more.
That's exactly what we couldn't do. And then you have to go back to the retailer and say, you're not going to believe this.
How did this impact the business?
Oh, it hurt. It hurt bad. You know, here we are coming right into the fourth quarter. We lose all the tequila. We can't fill the shelves. We had to lay off players, you know, and that's the hardest thing, knowing how many people are counting on you. So, yeah, it hurt all the way around.
Did you think you were being targeted?
Well, there's a side of me that still says, yeah, it wasn't a truckload of screwdrivers. Mm-hmm. You know, it wasn't a truckload of baskets. They were coming across the border. Someone knew what it was, and tequila is a hot commodity.
That's why Keith Lewis was called in. He's a former cop who runs operations for CargoNet, a company that works with law enforcement to solve these kinds of crimes. Lewis says last year, U.S. businesses lost more than $230 million of goods to physical heists, and those engineered online.
Let's start with the tequila case. How common is something like that?
It happens multiple times a day.
How does all of this impact consumers and the prices they pay?
100% falls back on the consumer's shoulders.
100%.
We pay at the pump for this. We pay at the grocery store, at the point of sale.
Lewis started investigating and began to piece together how the tequila heist was pulled off. He says the criminals created fake online profiles of trucking companies, bid on jobs they suspected might be valuable, and hired unsuspecting drivers online. Then, instead of sending the drivers to the Santo warehouse in Pennsylvania, the criminals redirected them to deliver the shipment into their hands.
And instead of taking it to the destination that was on the bill of lading, they told them to take that load to Los Angeles.
And the drivers are not in on this.
The driver that picked it up has no idea that he's committing a crime.
He thinks he's taking a legitimate load to a legitimate place.
Yes.
Doing his job.
Doing his job.
And he's being directed instead by criminals.
Correct.
Once investigators determined how the tequila was diverted to California, they tried to figure out who did it. But that was tougher because unlike the kind of cargo theft you typically think of, like this, with guys in masks breaking into trucks with bolt cutters, there was no suspect description or fingerprints. Lewis says the tequila heist was orchestrated entirely online.
You're saying that these folks don't even need to be in the same country sometimes.
No, and we've tracked them to over 40 different countries around the world.
And investigators say the tequila heist had all the characteristics of a criminal gang operating out of Armenia, 7,000 miles from the U.S.-Mexico border, where the tequila was last seen. Keith Lewis says that kind of theft, where criminals remotely redirect cargo to steal it, has spiked 1,200% in the last 4 years.
If you think about online dating, for example, you can be anywhere in the world and set up a date with someone. It's the same thing in the supply chain. You can be anywhere in the world, go online, and book that load. And we don't do business face-to-face anymore. We don't have the hand-to-hand transactions. We're doing business by PDF file, by rate confirmations. We book that load with this individual, we've never met him, and bam, you have $1 million load of electronics going down the road, hopefully to the right destination, or maybe it's not. It's become a global threat to our supply chain.
Nowhere is that threat higher than California. Last year, California had more goods stolen from trucks, trains, and by cyber criminals than any other state. That's because California's ports and highways make it a favorite target and hiding place for cargo thieves. To respond, the Los Angeles Police Department created a special unit to tackle all kinds of cargo theft. We were allowed to tag along with them one morning in August. Before dawn, officers swarmed this block in southeast Los Angeles, where they suspected a shipment of rifles stolen from a train were being hidden. They found the rifles, but also stacks of stolen sneakers, piles of power tools, and designer clothes. They've also recovered pallets of protein shakes, energy drinks, and vitamins. Typically, it all ends up in an LAPD warehouse until the rightful owner can claim it.
It looks like a Costco in here. You've got everything.
Yes, this is from a major manufacturer.
Alan Hamilton is the chief of detectives at the LAPD. He told us all this had been recovered by the cargo theft unit just a week earlier.
So we've got beer here that was stolen. We've got washing machines. We've got large appliances. As you see the Sub-Zero back there.
These are high-end appliances.
Some of these are very high-end, high-priced computers. The technology will be turned back around and sold for like 30 to 40% on the dollar.
The LAPD says the stolen swag is typically sold online or in stores, including this one, to unsuspecting customers. In August, they busted 2 hardware stores stocked with stolen goods, $4.5 million worth.
What's the value of all the goods that you've recovered over the last year?
So just for instance, in 2024, the Los Angeles Police Department cargo theft unit alone, $42.8 million in recovery just in the city of Los Angeles.
And it was that unit that cracked open the case of the missing tequila. Detectives tracked down one of the drivers who picked up the tequila in Texas. He'd moved on to other jobs, but told investigators he was directed by what he thought was a legitimate trucking company to leave the shipment at this industrial site in the San Fernando Valley. That information ultimately led police to this warehouse in southeast LA and 11,000 bottles of Santo tequila. Guy Fieri told us the thieves and that second truck of tequila were never found.
It feels like a movie plot.
You know, the celebrity chef, the rock star, the small tequila company, you know, it all comes together. The special shipment.
Did you think they were going to find it?
Gosh, no.
Yeah. They found it when?
3 weeks after, I'll say. So by then, who knows what's happened to it, who knows what condition it's in, so forth. I'm just thinking this is all going to go down the drain.
But after an inspection of the recovered bottles, Santo was able to put it back in stores and take a shot at a happy ending.
There's a lot of companies that this has happened to, but they don't want to talk about it. Why'd you decide to speak about what happened?
It's not a thing I want to go and brag about, like, hey, we got ripped off.
Yeah.
It's, you know, that's not fun. But if it can happen to us with what I believe were pretty strong measures and security and awareness and, you know, communication and, you know, the way we do business. And to get ripped off for 2 full semi-truckloads of tequila in today's age, then everybody's vulnerable.
For many of us, Rob Reiner will forever be Meathead, the liberal foil to Archie Bunker in CBS's All in the Family. But it's as a director that he's really made his mark with some of the most memorable movies ever. When Harry Met Sally, Stand By Me, A Few Good Men, and The Princess Bride. But Reiner's first film almost didn't get made. All he had for This Is Spinal Tap, about a failing, made-up British rock band, was a 4-page outline. No script, because the movie was totally improvised. Released in 1984, it became a cult classic and is ranked as one of the funniest films of all time. Now, 41 years later, Reiner and the band have come back together for a sequel. We joined them on the set in New Orleans. If it looks like a real rock concert, that was the idea. But these are pretend rock fans cheering on the, well, older pretend band, Spinal Tap. The new film reunites frontman David St. Hubbins, played by Michael McKean, lead guitarist Nigel Tufnell, played by Christopher Guest, and bass player Derek Smalls, played by Harry Shearer.
Give me all three. There we go. Okay, tap, 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 tap.
And as in the original,
My name is Marty DeBerge. I'm a filmmaker.
Reiner is both director of the actual film.
All right, here we go.
And he plays the director in the film.
What do you see next?
Earnest but hapless documentary filmmaker Marty DeBerge, straight man to the band members' eccentricities.
It doesn't look that rock and roll.
No, I was going to say.
So I could do this.
Well, that looks even more less rock and roll.
Okay.
Don't walk away right away.
All day we watched Reiner go back and forth between the stage
I'm going to have a heart attack.
and his director's setup behind the stage, always playing one role or the other.
You got him right here.
You're the director directing yourself.
I know, it's
and
crazy.
The documentary.
It's crazy. It's making me nuts.
But he still had time for a little shtick.
Are you a method actor?
We have a good lunch. Is there a good break that I can lie down? That's my method. No, I don't know.
Reiner trained in theater and improv at UCLA. Then, at 23, was cast by producer Norman Lear, a family friend, to play left-wing meathead opposite Carol O'Connor's Archie Bunker.
You resent our attitudes, our politics, even the clothes we wear. You know, I don't think there's one thing about us you agree with. I agree with that.
He thought the show would last 13 weeks. It turned into 8 years, 5 of them as the #1 show in the country.
So it's the early 1980s. You've just finished All in the Family. The whole country
Yes.
knew who you were.
Now nobody knows.
You decide you're going to direct your first feature film.
Right.
You try to do something really safe.
Well, people would say, well, I can't believe your first movie would be improvised. There'd be no script. And that's scary. And to me, it was the opposite. I wasn't scared.
The film was a fake documentary about a fake band
You must have made it a long time.
that satirized the antics of real rock musicians on stage and in the green room.
There's some problems here. I don't even know where to start.
Apparently, Van Halen had a rider in their contract, no brown M&Ms. So some roadie had to sit there picking out the brown M&Ms. It's crazy. So we looked at that and we said, there's a scene.
Nigel's complaint, the bread's too small.
You'd like bigger bread?
Exactly. I don't understand how.
You could
so I
fold this, though. I mean, you could
Well,
fold
no,
it.
then it's half the
No,
size.
not the bread. No, you could fold the meat.
Yeah, but then it breaks up, breaks
no,
apart
no.
like
You
this.
put it on the bread like this, see?
But then if you keep folding it, it keeps breaking.
Why would you keep
and then
folding
you'll.
it?
We all loved rock and roll. The 4 of us, we grew up on rock and roll. So that was the trick, is to make fun of it and at the same time honor it.
But it wasn't easy raising money for a film with no script that the audience might think was about a real band. Reiner made a demo reel and gave it to an executive.
And he went, no, not this. No, we don't want this.
After multiple rejections, Norman Lear and executives at Embassy Pictures agreed to take a meeting.
And I go through this insane pitch about why they should make the movie. And it's going to be successful. It's about rock and roll. The kids will like it. They'll watch it. There'll be repeat business. I'm going crazy. I walk out of the room. Norman tells everybody, you gotta let him do it. He's so crazy.
And so passionate.
So they said, okay, I'll give this kid a shot.
Do the dead bird.
The film featured cameos from Billy Crystal,
Mime is money. Let's go.
Paul Schaefer, Fran Drescher.
Bobby, of course.
But what Reiner says really made the film was the talent of Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer, who wrote and played all the songs themselves and improvised every scene.
Good drummer,
Good
drummer.
Fine.
What happened to him?
He died. He died in a bizarre gardening accident.
It's really one of those things. It was, the authorities said, best leave it unsolved, really.
So when Marty DeBerge, Rob, was interviewing you, did you ever know what the questions were?
Well, after he asked them, yes.
The numbers all go to 11.
As in perhaps the film's most famous scene.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it? It's not 10.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
What was the first audience reaction?
They didn't know what the heck was going on.
We went to a screening in Texas, and 2 girls commented, "These guys are so stupid."
The film did okay in theaters, but became a sleeper hit on home video. Credited with launching the mockumentary genre and stylistically inspiring some of the most popular TV shows of the last few decades, and some rave reviews.
A sacred rock artifact, the Citizen Kane of rockumentary.
Hey.
Well, that's
When you
pretty
read that,
good.
What a bar. I mean, what are we crazy to do another one? It's crazy. The bar is just way too high.
Rob Reiner knows a little something about a high bar. His father, Carl Reiner, was one of the biggest, funniest, and most beloved actors, writers, and directors of his day.
What do you suggest I do with all of these now, eh?
I heard there was a time in your life that you wanted to change your name.
My father thought, oh my God, this poor kid is worried about being in the shadow of a famous father. And he says, well, what do you want to change your name to? And I said, Carl. I just wanted to be like him.
You have said your father didn't get you.
No, not when I was little. Norman Lear was the first person that got me. I mean, I was playing jacks with his daughter. Norman says to my dad, you know, this kid is really funny. My dad said, what, that kid? That kid, he's a sullen. He sits quiet. He doesn't, he's not funny. He didn't think I was it anyway.
No good. My dad said it, I'm no good. He doesn't know you.
Reiner told us this painful scene in his 1986 movie Stand By Me was autobiographical.
He hates me, I'm no good.
That's a scene I wrote in a hotel room in Oregon, and I'm writing this scene, I'm crying. I'm actually crying. When I was making it, I knew that he loved me, and he did understand me, but as a little boy, that's what I felt. But I've got to tell you, when I was 16 years old, my dad and Mel were working on a routine, and I came up with an idea for a joke, and they used it. And it was the greatest validation at age 16.
Did people always do that in the old days?
Very sophisticated.
It was a bit for Reiner and Mel Brooks' 2,000-year-old man routine about the ancient origin of applause.
You'd go, whoa. Oh, is that good? Wow, wow. If somebody was great, you could kill yourself.
Oh, people actually hit themselves in the face. Wow! That hurts, though.
Yeah, you bet it hurts.
So Bernie was the first guy when nobody was looking. He pulled his head out, and he just went like that.
Don't hurt your faces, folks. Just a simple little clapping will suffice. Thank you.
This is the sword that Wesley used in The Princess Bride.
Reiner's study is full of mementos from a career that would make any father proud, not to mention a mother. Reiner gave his a star turn in Meg Ryan's famous deli scene.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
In When Harry Met Sally.
I'll have what she's having.
But it can be awkward having your mom on set, as Reiner discovered when Meg Ryan needed a little coaching.
First couple of times, she didn't do it full out. And finally, I sat across from Billy, and I acted it. I said, this is what, and I'm pounding the table, yes, yes, yes. And I'm realizing I'm having an orgasm in front of my mother. There's my mother over there.
And fun fact, Reiner actually changed the movie's ending to a happy one after he met his now wife, Michelle, with whom he has 3 grown children and who's now a producer of his films, including the new Spinal Tap.
Start the thing. Start what
So why at age 78 make a sequel to his very first film? Fans clamored for one for years, but neither Reiner nor the actors owned the rights until Harry Shearer sued and got them back.
Now, it's 40 years later, we have these rights. What do you do with them? And we started throwing out ideas.
As Reiner showed us in his Los Angeles edit room,
This is about me tracking down All the band members, they haven't talked to each other in 15 years.
He finds Nigel in the north of England running, of all things, a cheese and guitar shop.
And you sell both?
Yes and no. Sometimes people come in with a guitar, see, and they trade for cheese.
Really?
Yeah.
So
and
let's
sometimes it's the opposite. What I do is I go like this.
Yeah.
Then I go like this, let's say.
Yeah.
Close.
He's totally ad-libbing.
So a half a wheel of that cheese would buy you that. We schnaddle with each other and whatever
We
comes out.
schnaddle with each
Yeah,
other?
it's like doing shtick, you know.
Are you and I schnadeling?
We are schnadeling right now.
This
We're in the
very
process of schnadeling right now.
We're on my brain.
The new film features some repeat cameos.
I became Buddhist.
And some new big ones. Elton John.
Hey, guys.
And Paul McCartney.
Paul here. Is that the Paul? It's one of them.
Who also did some schnadeling.
How concerned are you? You know, sequels can tarnish the reputation of an original film.
I'm hoping it tarnishes someone else's reputation.
Maybe all those aging rockers who, like Spinal Tap, are still at it.
Look at Mick Jagger. You know he's a great-grandfather.
Yes. Wow.
And he has been for, those kids are not little kids.
No, I think one of them is 70, in fact. I think, which is, you're thinking, oh, the math of that doesn't work. But doesn't it?
So will this new film work?
I have no idea ever. All the films I've made, I never know what's going to work, what's going to... I try to get something I like.
Go to black, go to black, go to black.
And if I like it, then I say, well, at least I like it. Hopefully somebody else is going to like it. Okay, we got this.
Leslie Stahl on interviewing a fake band.
Heard of 60 Minutes, of course. Of course, famous the world round.
At 60minutesovertime.com. The last minute of 60 Minutes is sponsored by United Healthcare. Coverage you can count on for your whole life ahead.
In the mail this week, comments about Utah Governor Spencer Cox and his campaign to lower the temperature of political debate. Many were like this. Thank you very much for your episode with Spencer Cox. So refreshing and uplifting in these divisive times. We also received notes about our profile of Dana White, the hard-driving CEO of Ultimate Fighting Championship. White is planning a cage match next year at the White House to celebrate the nation's 250th birthday. What is next for 300? Gladiators and lions? And there was this. How can you feature Utah Governor Cox's decades-long campaign for peaceful disagreement versus UFC glorification of and profit from literal conflict and violence in the same show? I'm Scott Pelley. We'll be back next week with another edition of 60 Minutes.
The CBS Evening News, weeknights